Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing top 5 TBR shelf, which is going to be more of a top 5 books that I'm kind of tempted to read. So these are the books that I've been eyeing for a while. I haven't picked them up and I don't know why, because I've been so excited about them. So there's one of them that is a newer book to my shelf, so it hasn't been a very long staring contest I've had with it, but it's been a book that I've been interested in reading for so long, but it took for it to be released in the US for me to get my hands on it, so that took a while. But otherwise, these all have been ones I've had my eye on for a while, so I'm very excited to dive into these. Hi, kitty. So, let's start. This one is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Casey. I started to read this back in high school, but I definitely was not up to the task at that time. I was so desperate to understand my own mind and brain at the time, and I didn't have the capacity to kind of comprehend how much trauma had affected me. And as a result, I was very, very intensely drawn to books about mental health. This is one of those books. But the thing about this was it was all about being in a psych ward, and I myself had kind of put psych wards into this kind of mindset where I felt like I would finally meet people that were like me if I went. And I wanted so badly to meet people that were like me that I just was desperate to get into a psych ward. I didn't do it until recently, and it was definitely not some sort of romanticized situation. But in my mind, it felt like the place where I was going to find all my people and understand everybody and feel accepted. And at high school, that was all I wanted. More than anything, that was what I wanted. So reading this at that point felt like a really good idea, but then my mom took it away from me. So she felt it was a little too violent and a little too aggressive for me to be reading at that age, and I was no longer allowed to read it. I had taken it out of the library and she made me return it. So that was why I wasn't able to read it. I tried really hard to sneak it back into my house, but it didn't work. My mother was very on top of that kind of thing. So I'm hoping to read it now and to finally get into a situation where I can dive into this and explore it. And now that I've been in a psych ward, I feel like it won't be as kind of objectified. So I'm really excited to dive into this and to read this. This one hasn't been on my TBR as long as some, but it's been on my TBR long enough. This is The Sundial by Shirley Jackson. I am obsessed with Shirley Jackson, and you guys know this, and I'm reading all of her books this year. This one is about the apocalypse coming and a family, and it's going to be dark and twisted and really strange, and I'm really excited. I really like her novels. I find them really, really comforting. They're not comforting like a warm blanket that you pull over yourself at night and you feel like you can go to sleep after. They're more like a warm blanket that you put over yourself and then you're like, oh my god, I'm terrified. But I mean, they're not the scariest things that have ever been written, but they're not the most calming things that have ever been written. I'm really excited to dive into more of her works and to see how she takes over the apocalypse and to kind of dive into that experience with her. Then I recently ordered Louisa O'Neill's new book, and I am really excited to read that one, but this one I haven't read yet, and I feel like it's one that I need to read just because of the subject matter, and also because, come on, I love that cover. I don't think everyone's gonna love that cover because it looks really kind of twisted and weird and a little bit obscure, but I absolutely love this cover. This is Asking for It, which is about a woman who is sexually assaulted, and it's the conversation of what happens to a woman when she is accused of asking for it, and what happens to a woman after sexual assault, and what happens in that situation, how rape culture affects that situation, and whether or not we should believe women immediately or whether or not we should not believe them. It's a whole conversation about that whole thing. I'm really excited to dive into this. I've heard mixed reviews. Some people say that there's some situations in here that are kind of contradicting to the main message, but I am still really curious about it and very excited to dive into it. Then we have some Toni Morrison. This is Song of Solomon. This is like really glary. There we go. This one I believe is a little more eccentric and a little bit more magical realism-y. I'm very excited to dive into this. I loved Bluest Eye. I thought it was really beautiful and really well executed and extremely moving. And I definitely plan to read another one of her books and see how she does with more of them. I want to buy Tar Baby, and I want to buy, what's the other one? Beloved. Beloved is the other one I want to get, but I haven't had the chance and opportunity to pick those up. Or, well, no, I've had the chance and opportunity, not for Tar Baby, but for Beloved, absolutely. I just feel like I shouldn't have like 10 of her books on my shelf that are unread. I should only have like one at a time. I'm trying to be good here. I'm not always the best at this kind of situation, but I feel like that should be a situation. I also really want to read Maya Angelou's Why the Caged Bird Sings. I feel like that's a basic one I should have read by now, and I haven't read it. So if anyone thinks that I need to get on that, tell me in the comments below. This is the one that's newest to my shelf and that hasn't been on there the longest, but I've been curious about it ever since I saw it on Mercedes' channel, who I will link right above. And I really want to read this. It is going to destroy me. It is going to make me cry. It is going to make me overwhelmed, and it may not make me sleep. So I'm really excited to dive into a situation where my mental capacity is questioned. So that'll be great. This is Scars Across Humanity by Elaine Storkey, and I am really interested in this to see what the history of women's violence against women and what that's going to look like. It looks like there's also some religious context in here, talking about religion versus gender and identity and things of that nature. So I'm really curious about this. If it turns out to be a Christian-based book, I'm not sure how I will feel about that. But it does look like it's mostly about the history of women's violence, of violence against women. So that could be really good or scare the crap out of me. We'll see. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, click that subscribe button down below. I will talk to you in the comments. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.